Hello, everyone. I am TracyMac, your self-discovery companion, your professional peacemaker, and host of Black Women's World Podcast. Baby, we are rolling into season 2 already, with a season that's just going to help you inspire and encourage all my sister niecers and sister niece lovers. And kicking off in our January episodes, we have this beautiful woman right here, Jovonne Cookie Jones of Flutterizm Beauty Experience, Salon, and Cosmetics. Jovonne, tell them a little bit what we're going to be talking about on the show.
I'm just going to sum it up. If you want to know about how to be driven and passionate about your hustle, come on, tune in. Tune into this bomb podcast.
Yes. Because listen, there are ways to prosper during a pandemic. We're sharing everything about Jovonne being a serialpreneur, a mom, a makeup artist, so many things that you will definitely be encouraged and inspired. So listen, coming up on season 2 of Black Women's World Podcast, the BWWP, my sister nieces and sister niece lovers, come get flutterized. And if you don't know what that means, come listen to the show. Peace.
Welcome to Black Women's World Podcast, the BWWP, where we get VIP access into the lives of Black women, or as we like to call us here, our sister niecers. We get to hear from some of our favorite sister niecers as they share their worlds with us and create connections, exchange realities, ideas, and baby, we get to recognize and celebrate how powerful we really are. Our sisterhood here is real, filled with peace, wisdom, hope, love, light, and laughter. You know, the kind you can feel, the kind of encouragement that confirms we can do anything because we have, and the kind of inspiration that proves we can be even greater. This is our world, where if you ain't a Black woman, you may want to be one, or definitely get to know one. It's a Black women's world, and we welcome our sister niece lovers too. Welcome to our queendom. I'm your self-discovery companion, your professional peacemaker, and I'm your host, TracyMac. Come on in and relax and sit with me for just a little while. Peace.
Hello, everybody. I'm TracyMac of the BWWP, Black Women's World Podcast. And today I have something so special for you. Oh, my God. I need to get some preliminary things out of the way because this guest I am bringing to you is near and dear to my heart. And I must say, when I say one of my favorite sister niecers, she's like, oh, my family fave sister niece, my sister, my cousin. Oh my God, I just can't wait to talk to her. But listen, come on in and have a seat and relax with us because we're going to be talking about everything. I couldn't even title this episode because of the wonderful conversations that I'm able to have with this young woman. Have you ever had those conversations with people that you can talk to them about anything, any and everything? Well, that's it. But listen, Black Women's World Podcast, sister niecers and sister niece lovers, welcome to season 2 of Black Women's World Podcast, baby, the BWWP. And I am TracyMac, your self-discovery companion and your professional peacemaker of TracyMac Coaching Services and Solutions for Life Institute and the host of BWWP. Now, we also have on the BWP an opportunity for you to sow into the lives of young Black women, where we will be offering scholarship opportunities, having the applications available in April, and we will also have them release those awards in the fall of 2021. So if you would like to donate, or should I say make contributions to Black Women's World Scholarship Fund, you can do so by way of Venmo. Just download the Venmo app if you don't already have it. But also you can go to Venmo and any contribution you make will go directly to the scholarship fund. So if that's something you'd like to do, please do. But without further ado, let me start talking about, you see how beautiful she is. Those of you who are listening, you can't see. So I'm going to be making this available by way of video, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that later on. But we're going to go ahead and start this interview based on you being able to hear. And I just want you to listen to all the wonderful things. She's looking at me smiling, all beautiful. But let me tell you, this is my cousin. Her name is Jovonne Jones. And even in some of the world of what she does, and I'll tell you about those things, in the world of makeup artistry and cosmetology and so many other things, Jovonne Cookie Jones. But Jovonne is my cousin, and because of the age difference that we have, she's in the second set. Is that right, Jovonne?
That's right. That's right.
The second set of cousins. We're from Portsmouth, Virginia. I was born in Portsmouth. I did not live there after 3 years old, but Jovonne is a resident of Portsmouth. We call it P-Town. We come from a family who is extremely musically inclined, and Jovonne is a flautist. I'm talking about the bomb diggity flautist, and even accepted into the governor's school when she was in high school, and still to this day a sought after flautist, whether it be for events and weddings. And she's just an extremely gifted musician. She can sing, but she don't want me to tell you that part. But anyway, and she is right now, those of you who are only listening, she is very uncomfortable being talked about, but I'm gonna do it anyway because of the wonder that she is. But Jovonne and I, like I said, the age difference, and I was in North Carolina and she was in Virginia, we did not really reconnect until 1996. And Jovonne, I can't keep doing this. I got to be organic. I cannot just talk about you this long and not talk to you. But did Jovonne say hey?
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
I think they do it. Can you hear them?
I heard them all.
And look, I can't leave out that we are two of the most funniest people to us, especially when we're together. What do you say, on the planet?
On the planet, yes. Yes.
But Jovonne, because we connected back in 1996. Jovonne and I had kind of the same path. I attended Winston-Salem State University and HBCU in 1987 for a year, and Jovonne attended Shaw University, another HBCU here in North Carolina. I'm sorry, St. Aug. Boy, I got that all mixed up. She attended well, they're right around the corner, but still, let's get it right. She attended St. Aug University here in Raleigh, North Carolina, and she left St. Aug after a year. Was that about a year?
It was about almost a year.
Okay. She left St. Aug for about a year. And we both much later on went back and got our degrees. And we'll talk about that. But Jovonne, tell the people, I'm gonna jump this stuff in. If you don't tell it, I will.
Okay. I don't know where to begin. I guess, I'm Jovonne Jones. I'm a mother of two. Very, I guess I could say, just very driven person in every area of my life, from my personal life to my business life. I wake up with a goal that's like unachievable, and I'm just determined to meet it, even if it's making $3,000 worth of groceries on $50 budget, or making somebody's world change off of just conversation.
Yes.
I don't know. There's a lot about me that I just don't even know how to put into words. I'm honored to be here. I'm honored that you find me so interesting enough to be on the podcast.
Of course, baby.
We did meet in 96. We first cousins, our mothers are sisters, and I've known you forever. And I've always thought you were just so beautiful and just so articulate with your words, considering we are from Portsmouth and Portsmouth. But I just always thought you just spoke so eloquently and even just sung so beautifully. As a child, I remember just saying, oh, her lipstick was just so perfect and things like that. And I didn't know about the fashion fair and all the other things, but I just looked from afar. I was about 10 or so when you were almost 19, 20 or whatever. So you were somebody I looked up to all the time, and your sister Portia. So y'all just had it going on.
Yes.
So long story short, when we connected in 96, there was a hurricane and I was stuck on campus where everybody else went home. My father, being a single parent, wasn't able to just come scoop me up. And I was on campus, and you and your mom came and scooped me up, and I spent about a week with you all until they cleared the campus.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt like I was shifted into a whole nother arena, you know, from what I knew was normal. I saw your life, your parents' life, and, you know, how you can just be so laid back, chill, and cool, but have goals. You know, I've never seen that. So people that were just goal oriented and driven. So that was a whole new arena for me. And years later, I ended up coming to live in North Carolina with you all after leaving school and so forth. And I was introduced to a whole new world, you know, of not saying that, you know, my father did a bad job, you know, but it was just a shift. You know, I went from seeing my father never missed a day of work. He was a band director in Chesapeake Public Schools, and he just never, ever stayed home for anything. He got up same time every morning, read the entire newspaper, drank his coffee, went off to work, came home, you know, changed his clothes, went right back into fixing cars in the yard. You know, it's his entrepreneurial shift from his 9 to 5. So those are the things I saw. Then when I moved to you all, it was like, wait a minute, they got real jobs. They got hanging on the back of the door saying where they're going to be next year. And now, like, wait a minute, what is this? So it was a definite shift that changed my life, you know, changed my entire life, changed my outlook on life. And I'm grateful for that. But all that in a nutshell, you know, I'm grateful for 96 when we did connect, and all these years later, spending so much time, conversation, everything, you know, has been such a joy and even enhanced my growth and pushed me even more into my aspect of makeup artistry, cosmetology, and everything else, you know. So you have been definitely one of my top supporters over the years. So I thank you, Tracy.
Oh, Jovonne, you making my heart beat fast. Because I mean, I don't know if you realize, and we've talked about it, but you know, we got that family thing of downplaying some of our best qualities. But you changed my life in 1996. 1996, Owen, my husband, had gone to Okinawa for a year. So when you came, it was the perfect time, because I think, you know, being married just a few years before then, I think the pressure, especially that the church put on you as far as, you know, be home with your husband and all that kind of stuff. And if it wasn't church related, don't do it. And, you know, I was bucking that system all the time. And not because I didn't love my husband, but because I knew that the relationship was beyond what was being dictated. But when you came, the timing was perfect because I didn't have to share myself with, you know, you were there, and with this camaraderie. On one hand, I felt like you were my little sister cousin, but on the other hand, you were my friend, and we could talk about everything. And you had so much talent that had not been tapped. It was like people who are not talented were just out there running their mouths doing stuff, and you had all this talent that was just being harnessed and had not been developed. And I'm like, I mean, you were doing hair at 14 or so by request. Not only your own, and we can talk about that another time, and we may be able to bring it up in this conversation. Our mothers and sisters, and Jovonne's mother has suffers with mental illness, and so Jovonne had to grow up really quick and do a lot of things on her own, from cooking to cleaning to doing her own hair. And out of that necessity, it became very evident that she had a talent, not only for her need, but to help other people. So she was doing hair, and she was dabbling in makeup, funny as a mug, as we say. And that flute. And when I heard you play the flute, because I knew you know, everybody in the family plays an instrument except me. But but when I heard that flute at church, I just began to cry. And it took me and my parents, I know, weeks just to almost make you. Did my dad make you?
Yes, he made me. It was more so your mom, but he was like, where you going? You got your Bible? You got your purse? Where's your flute? Like, nobody plays the flute in church, brother. You know, but I just went on and packed it up and did what I was supposed to do. So,
And she would, I know we got so much to talk about on this particular episode, but she was just so gifted and didn't even realize it to the degree that she was, and not only gifted and talented, but anointed, and just being there and improv, being able to do improvisations and read music and all of that, you know, because some people can play and can't read, but you can do it all. And but that was culminating some things for me. And when you talk about makeup, as a matter of fact, those of you who can only listen, you can't see how beautiful she is. But like I said, when we make this video available, you'll be able to see. And I've started doing makeup for Fashion Fair back in 1991. I always had more than one job. So I was working for a cable company. I did sales calls for Pepper Tree. I also was cleaning hotel rooms down at Pepper Tree. And I also worked Fashion Fair cosmetic counter at Cherry Point Marine Corps Air Station in Havelock. And so I went and they showed me how to do makeovers and makeup, and I would do makeovers, especially for Marine Corps ball nights for when women would come in and get their makeup done, and because it was the only that I knew of, other than I think it was another one. Was it Flora Roberts? Was the other makeup line, and that catered to African American complexions. And so when I was doing Fashion Fair, you know, I thought I was all that, so I learned how to do it. And then later on, Jovonne mentioned my sister Portia. Portia was a Mary Kay rep. And so Portia pulled me into Mary Kay. And it was expansive, and unlike Fashion Fair, I was only making my hourly wage working the makeup counter. And then some people would tip me, you know, when I did makeovers. But when my sister turned me on to Fashion Fair, to Mary Kay, and I saw it was an income opportunity, you know, I was all over, right? Okay. Because I lived by myself. I had my own house. I had a car note, and I like to travel, and I like nice things. So I figured the only way to get that done was to make money. So I didn't mind a hustle. So I did Mary Kay. And then Jovonne, take over how you got introduced to Mary Kay as to how you got bit by the makeup artist or the MUA bug.
Well, it was kind of like a double whammy. You know, I didn't have a makeup artist for prom, and Portia just came to the rescue and saved my life, beat my face. And I actually still have pictures of it. You know, she came to grandmother's house, and she worked her magic. She left me with a tube of lipstick, and she was like, "You're going to have to re-up through the night. You know, make sure you don't put on too much and take your tissue and blot." And I'm like, okay. So fast forward, maybe about a year later, I would go see Portia almost every weekend because my dad being a single parent, always having to work, I was always home alone. So Portia would drive from Newport News or Yorktown Naval Weapons Station all the way to Portsmouth, which was about 40 minutes or so at that time. And she would scoop me up, take me back to her place, and I'd spend the weekend with her and her family. And while I was there, I'm opening her closet, and she had Mary Kay everything: the moisturizer, skincare, the makeup, the shadows, the test. What do you call
Testers?
those?
Yeah.
You know, set the mirror up and put little samples here and there. And she would always set me up and show me what's going on. And I was just so gone. You know, I'm like, oh my God, this is my own job. I would see her leave out. She would say, "Let me run to the curb because so-and-so was coming to pick something up or whatever." And I said, "Okay." And she come back, "Oh, we're going to order some pizza because I just got paid from this." I'm like, this girl is hustling, making some money, doing her thing. Go to church. She had her church members buy from her. It was just, I was so blown. Not just at the fact she was making the money, but she looked good while she was doing it.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, how do I get this stuff here? I was about 17, 18, not even 18, about 16, 17 years old. And she shifted in her career, and a lot of new items came out. She's like, "We don't need this anymore. We don't need that. Jovonne, you can have this." And when I tell you that old pink box Mary Kay case.
Yes. Yes.
Girlfriend, I went home with that thing, and I thought I was Mary Kay. Tell me.
Jovonne, and you have an affinity for pink. Does that have anything to do with it?
I don't know. I never really thought about that, but I just love pink. It's just so girly. But that light pink box bag that was heavy.
Yes. With the Velcro.
When you the plastic
Yes.
that Velcro inside,
Yes, the
honey.
shell. Yes.
Nothing. I was lining up. My friends at the house didn't know how to lay liquor makeup. Lining up my friends, girl, I can do your makeup. Green, everybody had green shadow. Everybody. Green shadow and red lips or rose color lips. So I began to just fall in love. And that was Portia depositing that in me at that time in my life. And then, after the product started getting low, I'm like, God, where can we buy this? It wasn't in abundance back then as it is now. So you can go to, your local pharmacies and so forth and find a pallet here, a small pallet, but it wasn't, good stuff.
Right.
So I just, I kept it on my mind. Fast forward, went to college, spent most of my time in the dorm, relaxing hair, box relaxers, charging $5. You'll have pictures of before and afters from back then of that too. But I found that
So wait a minute. So you was hustle man at St. Aug.
Big time in the dorm, 209 Latham Hall. Come get your relaxer, get your edge up on the. Everybody had the holly berry cut and needed that neck relax, honey.
Yes.
When you got that Dark and Lovely box relaxer, which was like $2 at the time, you get your relaxer, bring it to me. You pay me $5 to apply it. Then you go run to the group shower and you rinse it out yourself. You come back, I lay it, and that was a hustle for me.
Yes.
Long story short, I loved it. I'm like, I got an 8 o'clock class, but so-and-so need a relaxer. Let me go ahead and relax her right quick. Burning the mess out of folks.
And Jovonne, you say you were burning the mess.
Burning the mess out of it. But that's just from lack of education. All I knew, the paperwork with the gloves attached.
Yes.
Yeah, 20 to 25 minutes on this type of hair, this type of hair. I said, well, everybody got this type of hair. I'm like, everybody gonna get 30 minutes relax.
And look, no matter burns or not, it's gonna be straight.
It was bone straight with burns like I don't know what. So with all of that said, my dorm director came in one day and found out I was charging money to do relaxers. She told me I was gonna be put out the dorm if I kept charging for relaxers. Her name was Miss Chippy. I don't know anybody. But Miss Chippy said, I'm going to have to let you know you will be put out the dormitory if you continue because you don't have a license.
Wow.
And things happened that same semester with my mom to where my mom was actually, she was in a mental institution at the time. And I got a phone call saying that she was going to become a ward of the state because no one was claiming her or claiming to be her guardian. And for whatever reason, I thought at 18 years old that I can be my mother's guardian. And I left St. Aug, left all the box relaxers and all my friends, and thought that I could be her guardian. Thought I was enough to handle someone who was diagnosed with extreme schizophrenia. At that time, that's what they called it. I don't know now, but it's extreme schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, depression, manic depressant, and so many other things. And I thought, well, it's my duty. I'm her only daughter. My brothers, I have 2 brothers, and they were here in Virginia. And I didn't expect them to step up to a plate like that. So I left college because of that. And I was at St. Aug for music. That was my major, music education. But I found then that hair and cosmetics and cosmetology was my passion, was my love.
So Jovonne, that I love that you said that. And because a lot of times, because we may be good at something and even gifted at something, that may not be the mission, or we may not have the passion, or that may not be our purpose. Because when you were saying, I was thinking about my college days, I couldn't be hustle man back then, but music. And when I got to college, classes weren't hard for me. I fell in love with the gospel choir. And at that time, Winston-Salem State's gospel choir was not a sanctioned choir on campus. There was a choir, but that was for people who were into music from a formal perspective. So the gospel choir was not as welcomed. And at the time, our musician was George Pass, and the drummer was George Hauser, rest in peace, G. But the choir music intrigued me, and George, and he's pastoring, I believe, in Greensboro now, but he was, oh God, such a gifted musician. classically trained, but he could play anything in gospel music. And, you know, our family musically inclined, you know, always been involved with singing. And I was enamored with the gospel choir, and I was angry with my parents because they wouldn't let me go on tour with the choir.
Mm.
And that just broke my heart. And so when I did, I ended up leaving school because I was ill and didn't understand the financial aid process. So when I left school, I had completed both semesters, but when it was time to go back, you know, because I went to school, I had to emancipate myself because my parents were not really interested at that time. They have a change of heart now, but they weren't interested in that form of higher education. It was go to church, do what the Lord wants you to do, and go to work and work hard so you can go to church. But don't miss church because of work. And I had a problem with that because I got to hustle, so I got to miss church. But I was music, and so even though music was in our family, and we had the legacy of music instrumentally and vocally, at the time I was the only one I know who had the bug to write. And so being in Winston-Salem State's gospel choir, when George and I think another guy named Chris was bringing songs to the choir they wrote, that was my first Black experience of Black people writing their own music and bringing it to the choir and singing it so beautifully in worship and praise. And I was like, I want to do that. And so when I did end up leaving college and didn't want to go back home in my parents' house and had to hustle to buy my own house and get my own place, my own car, that's when work came. But that ability to write music and seeing the example of it, I was like, that's what I want to do. So I began to write and produce and publish. And so it's really intriguing to me how now I don't do that much in music now because I've got bitten by other bugs, but music is still my first love.
So that spark was started, had started at Winston-Salem State. I get it totally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a benefit.
But when I got to
Go ahead.
Yeah, when I got to St. Aug, it was not the same. People appreciated it totally differently. Not just because it was $5, because $5 was hard to come by at that time, but it was like, oh, there's Jovonne. That's the girl that does the relaxers. So back at home, everybody did hair, and people did great hair. But in Carolina, it was like, that's her right there, the one with the bad hairdo, the one with the holly berry cut, the one that, So I was like, okay, I'm a little bit elevated down here. So it was a different spark, and I get it totally. Like you said, gospel choir and writing and so forth. That's what ignited that flame for me. Now, music, me and my brother say all the time, we are music.
Exactly.
There's no separation from music and myself.
Exactly.
What I hear, what I speak. We're speaking notes right now. And if my son was, he'll tell me, Ma, you speaking in A flat. I'm like, really? He's on a whole nother level with it. But, we are music. So that's never separated from us. But when it comes to a passionate drive, music is something we were born into, born doing, born loving. No one sat and instructed us. Because my father was a director, he never took out a baton and said, and the one, and the two.
Yes.
He had nothing to do with that.
Exactly.
We were just born into it. My mother, music major, has her degree in music education as well from Norfolk State, as well as my father. But that was nothing for us. We were just surrounded by it and was like, look, we're going to run with it. But I'm not passionate about it. I can't say my brothers, but I am not passionate as I am taking something as simple as a powder, softening someone's face and decreasing facial lines and turn them to the mirror and taking 15 years off in 3 minutes time.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And you know what? I want you to run that road because I want to say this thing and I just want you to go off on that because that is the culmination of kind of where you are now in so many different ways of changing people's lives through makeup artistry on several different fronts that I did not even realize was possible. Because back when I was doing the fashion fair and the Mary Kay, there was a whole different way you did makeup. You mentioned beating faces. We didn't even call it that back then. And even now, I had to get Flutterized because that's the name of her makeup line, Flutterizm Cosmetics, because she does own her own makeup line. We got to throw that in there. But I put on extra makeup because of her, but the way I do it is still old school. Because when we were doing it, it was like you were trying to like Diane Carroll off Dynasty or somebody, you know, and or somebody cute on TV, especially Black women. But lighting was different and whatever. So when Jovonne came along and she had this talent, and when you said about music, let me say this right quick. Music to me, because some people say you don't write anymore, you wasting your gift. No. You don't understand. Music is like breathing to me. That's just like saying, because I'm not, trained in some type of breath specialist, that I'm wasting my breath because I'm just breathing. It's part of who I am. So it's not something to be separated. And I'm good at writing. I'm good at arranging, and I'm good at harmonies and 4-part harmony. I'm good at all that. I'm not a great singer as I used to be, but I can hold a note. But when you said that, so going back to the makeup aspect, when I saw you come on the scene and contouring begin to be a thing, and putting this in, and those of you who are listening, you can't see me, but you know how you contour the nose and the cheekbones, that they weren't teaching that when I was doing it. And so when Jovonne took the baton, and I say legacy wise, from my sister, from my mom. My mom always did her makeup back in the 70s, but she wasn't into makeup artistry, but she just always looked good. Jovonne, my grandmother, it was just, these women were, my Aunt Mary, these women were polished in the 40s, 50s, 60s, did not, it's two things. What Aunt Mary said, you don't leave out the house without lipstick and earrings. That was just.
And I actually told that story yesterday to one of my clients. She was talking about some pictures she saw, and she's like, where were you going? I was like, I was just, that's what I was taught from the beginning. Being that our grandmother had nowhere to go. She didn't drive, she was home all day with everybody's kids.
And cooking 3 meals a day.
Skirts.
Yes.
Like belts, costume jewelry, pearls, and different colors.
Earbobs, Jovonne.
Correct. And I'm like, Grandma, where you going? She said, I'm going to go in this kitchen and make such and such and such. We'll do this and that. And I'm just looking at her and listening to those heels just click, 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 click. Why she got on heels? And I remember even asking her, like, why you wear heels if your feet hurt? And her feet always bothered her because she was standing up all the time. And she said, well, Joe is her husband. Well, when Joe comes in, I don't want him to see me looking any kind of way.
Exactly.
And that thing stuck with me. I'm like, you stay ready. She stayed ready.
Yes. And Jovonne, so much so that flowed down to me witnessing my mom. I never saw my mom lay down in a bed until 1998. Because she was already up when we got up. And most of the time dressed. And if she wasn't completely dressed, her hair was together, and she may have had a robe on because she may have been in the kitchen. And even though I know that there's an element of self-care that we have to do now, because those women really push themselves to the degree that it may have been harmful. So I don't want to act like it was all glorious, but from an outer experience, we come from that legacy of women that's got to be together. Now, I don't wear makeup as much anymore. Because I just don't, and it, it's just not a thing. But I know how to do it. But
just
you,
like music,
yes. When I need it, I can do it. Hair, like I just made this transition into sister locks. When it comes time, we can do it, and I don't want it, because women all over the world are listening to this, and sister niestas and sister niesta lovers. So we have men, other people of color, white people from all over the world that are listening to this, and they may not have come from that type of family. And I think it's incumbent upon us, to the degree they want those things, to learn from the elders. We learned from my grandmother. Whether it come from shelling peas, shucking corn, or watching her in the kitchen, those things are a lost art when it comes to relationship and legacy pass downs. When my Aunt Mary, who you would find in her purse red lipstick, Newports, and a comb. I mean,
or a small bottle of Sierra perfume.
Yes, Sierra perfume. And that was the other thing. And it wasn't so much anybody sat down, other than those times of getting your hair done, sitting down in between the knees of a mother or an aunt or a cousin and getting your hair done. Do you know how much information is transferred? How much tradition is transferred? And so whether it be my sister Portia transferring that to your face, you
That's
know, or
right.
transferring that to, because she was Mary Kay before I was, but I was doing fashion fair, but the transference of family that is lost. And,
Uh-huh.
but when you said, you know, the makeup, you are the owner of Flutterizm Beauty Experience, a salon in Portsmouth, Virginia.
Uh-huh.
But that, and I got to bring it up because you won't. And those of you who can see, she's at her salon right now with her color palettes of different eyeshadows and lipsticks and you can say what's behind you if you want to, but I just have to say this. When she got her license in cosmetology and then grew that into the makeup artistry. And I'm looking down because I had to write down, even though you're my cousin, I know everything. I didn't want to forget, and I probably still have forgotten. But Flutterizm Beauty Experience is a salon in Portsmouth, Virginia. She had started Flutterizm a magazine where she would feature the before and after of people's lives and just changing people's lives through the art of makeup artistry. Then became an international and bi-coastal makeup artist. And we were even together because we were growing our businesses together, going to different things and any conferences or workshops I knew about, I was like, come on, Jovonne. And if we
Right.
didn't have the money, I was like, we'll figure it out. Let's go, we'll figure the money out later.
That's right.
And so, and that's the other thing, whether it be family or friends, if someone has given you a hand up, it's incumbent upon you to reach back. And that's the fortitude in Delta Sigma Theta. But let me do it this way because the camera's backwards. But when you know you're reaching up, always reach back. But she has a Flutterizm magazine. Then she launched her own makeup line, which blew my mind. And Jovonne, I want you to tell that story. And then began to do the hair care for balding men, or what they call jokingly man wigs. I don't know if that's jokingly or not. And even helping women with alopecia. You have changed lives. And the last thing, as it pertains to your makeup artistry, as far as the deceased, because you have your degree in funeral services, because Jovonne, your hands are gifted in making our deceased loved ones look like our best memories of them.
Mm-hmm.
And people, you have been in high demand that you can take someone who has deceased by a traumatic experience, whether it be by suicide or drowning or whatever, and you have reconstructed their faces so that their loved ones have a sense of peace.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, baby, you are anointed in the makeup industry and have taken it far beyond. Please, I'm not going to talk for a long time, but I had to say all of that because you won't. And I can see you getting uncomfortable, and I don't care,
Yeah.
baby, because people need to hear your story in spite of having a mom with mental illness, in spite of a single parent father who didn't quite, meet the needs of a young girl because he couldn't. It is not a fault. It's just he didn't have the capacity. You have just talk.
Okay. Well, going back, 96 was that year. We lost our first cousin due to a
Yes,
murder.
yes,
We kind of got close then too, before I ended up going to school, because I rode with you all to the funeral. But when we went to view her body, we could see the indentation of where the bullet wound was in her head. Her face was not the color of her neck. Her
yeah.
hair was not the style she normally wore. She had on clothes that she never wore. She had a shroud on that was not her personality, to where her 5-year-old daughter saw her and said, where's my mom's jeans?
Yeah. Yeah,
You
because
know,
Devonna Marla Byers, rest in peace, was a beautiful
yeah,
fashionista,
beauty,
fashion, hair, nails,
yeah,
before nails were
jewelry.
nails, before fashion was, but she had it first and she had it best.
She was the definition of the having the swag and the flair and the just, before anybody had it, she had it, wore it, did it, cars, everything. But all that to say, when I saw her, I was so angry because it didn't look like her,
Mhm.
and I wanted to know so badly, how to fix it. How
Mhm.
can I fix it? How can I, do that? So fast forward. Well, actually, my senior year, I remember watching My Girl, the movie with Macaulay Culkin,
Yeah.
and Veda, the young lady in the movie, her father was a mortician. And Veda went down the steps to talk to her father about something personal, and he was working on a body as an embalmer. And I was so fascinated that they had this big, beautiful colonial style home. And in the basement was a morgue,
Yeah.
or, prep room and things like that. And I'm like, oh my God, what was he doing? I want to see the body. I was just gone at that time. I know it sounds crazy, but I was, I want to see what he's doing. So fast forward, well, my senior year, I wrote in my senior book, what do you see yourself in 20 years? I said, I want to be a mortician. I want to have 2 sons and married to a nice, kind man.
Wow.
Some of that worked out, but I got my beautiful boys, and I was always intrigued with mortuary science.
Yeah.
So in doing hair and so forth over the years, you do get calls when your clients pass away and, loved ones pass away, and they say, hey, can you get so-and-so's hair back to where it was? Or can you style this wig? Or can you do that? And it kept happening. I just became so intrigued, like, oh my God, I would go in there for this person. I'm looking around me like, wait a minute.
So Jovonne, you were never, and I know I don't either, and it's hard for people to understand, even though I don't do anything in mortuary science or whatever, but were you ever fearful? I've never been one to be afraid of those who have died, whether it be, and that type of gore doesn't bother me, seeing a dead body or touching a dead body. Those things don't bother me. How have you been, how has that affected you?
Well, it has no effect on me. And I relate that back to trauma, childhood trauma, and trauma can be from a movie, can be from the boogeyman or your brothers hiding in sheets and hopping out, scaring the life out of you. I've never seen a scary movie. When Poltergeist and Freddy Krueger and all that stuff was out back in the day, I didn't watch it.
Me either.
When The Wizard of Oz came out, I didn't like the witch riding that bike. And I was turned off from that. So certain things I never implanted in my mind, so I don't have images of gore and horrific images.
Same here.
Fast forwarding, and some people say, oh no, you had to have seen this. No, I know of the title, but I did not I've never, and y'all gonna fry me for this, I might lose my black card, but I have never seen the Thriller video ever in my life, because those images bothered me at however old I was, 11, 12 years old.
We're going to take your black card, but then we're going to give it right back. No, I can't take it. I can't take it.
I just remember there was an image of a werewolf, and it bothered me so bad. I was like, oh my God, I didn't like the teeth or whatever. And I never looked at the whole video. So it was certain things that I just never did. So when it came to the deceased, I was so intrigued, like, oh my God, the skin doesn't feel the same. They don't have the same elasticity. You have to use different products or warm your products differently. So I was so intrigued with that aspect. I was like, I got to go to school for this. I'm going to take a makeup class for the dead. But you had to go to school to take the entire course. So after working before.
So how long ago was that? How long was that in between you starting Flutterizm Beauty Experience and your own makeup line to actually doing funerals and working on the
I started Flutterizm in 2011 with just as far as launching my cosmetics. I launched my cosmetics before I actually opened up my salon. Opened up my salon in 2013. And I decided to go to school in 2015 because everybody was dying. And I'm telling you, when you shift from talking to people and doing hair and makeup to the deceased, it's so many unanswered questions. And I needed to know, am I doing this correctly? Is this the right product to use? So I have a family member that's a funeral director in Carolina. And I would call him up and just ask him, can you help me? Or next time you get a body, can you call me? And he would call me, and I would drive to Elizabeth City area, and I would stand in and watch him and get tips and so forth. And at that time, I was gone. I was like, oh my God, so many different things I saw. I didn't even know that they went through so many different steps to give the family that lasting peace. And he called me a few times, and I'm like, okay, I'm in, I'm done. You just let me know who you have. And I started going regularly, just to learn. And then I enrolled in school. He said, your local college has this program. And I enrolled, and the rest is history. But when I enrolled, I did not know. I didn't even think about, this is a science-based major. I don't want to do signs. I'm trying to do makeup. No signs.
I'm just here for the makeup, baby. I'm just here for the makeup.
Restorative art, that's all I need, But in that, I met some really good people, even my professors right now, just great people, and have helped me along this journey. But I don't even remember what your question was. But as far as the gore of it, I'm not affected. I've never been affected. I've been so intrigued the entire time. And I absolutely love it. I feel it is my duty to make that family feel at peace. I want them, whatever religion they believe, I want them to know my relative is in heaven, whatever they believe. That's my goal.
Based on the peace of seeing their deceased person. Yeah.
I don't care what situation it is. So that's my goal. And I feel like God gave me that to do just that. So what may seem impossible to some people, and I don't want to come off as arrogant, because I'm not,
No, not at all.
I know what I do, and exactly. I know it's meant for me to do.
Jovonne, a friend of mine used to say, it's a sad cow that can't ring its own bell. In other words, a bell around a cow's neck is just going to ring simply because it's walking, and when it's not ringing, it's dead. So you're in a sad situation when you can. So it's the difference between, here it is. I know I'm not good at a lot of things.
Right.
What I'm good at, I am damn good at. Period.
I am so good at. Right.
And what the humility comes in the fact that what I'm not good at is so many more things. So it's a good balance. But you are, and you have sent me, it's been at times where Jovonne, will send me a before and after of a lot of different things. And I'm like, oh my God, you did this. You are amazing, baby. You are amazing, because even when it comes to, like I said, Jovonne, is it proper to say man wigs? Or what's the correct terminology?
Surgical hair replacement. And the slang term is man weaves, because, it's just, our community gonna always twist something up.
Yeah, we're gonna blacken it up. We're gonna throw some ebonics in there. Exactly.
We are not gonna take time and learn non-surgical hair replacement at all.
Exactly.
The man weave. So with that said, we have adopted the term man weave because it's worldwide,
But even with that, when you first told me and how you, oh God, I can talk to you about so much. And by the way, my BWWP listeners, Jovonne Cookie Jones has officially accepted the invitation to become one of my resident co-hosts. Because we can talk about anything real. We bring a real element to the table where some subject matters are talked about surface, some are talked about ignorantly, but we can bring a real element to so many different subject matters, especially as it pertains to Black women, who we proudly say is the core of our audience, our sister niestas and our sister niesta lovers. So even people all over the world, there's nothing that we're talking about right now that some Black woman or person of color or sister niesta lover cannot identify with. So, but Jovonne, back to the man weaves.
You've been listening to Black Women's World Podcast. I really hope you are enjoying the VIP access you are getting into one of our favorite sister niestas, Jovonne Cookie Jones, who's also one of our newest resident co-hosts here at the BWWP. But you know what's not new to Jovonne? Cosmetology, makeup artistry, and so much more, because she's been at it for over 30 years as the sole owner of Flutterizm Beauty Experience Salon and Cosmetics, located in Portsmouth, Virginia, USA. To contact Jovonne or to book an appointment, call 757-606-0222. Also, you can reach her at flutterizm@gmail.com. That's flutterizm@gmail.com. And if you don't know what it means to be flutterized, let me tell you, it's when Jovonne takes you from nervous excitement to fearless confidence. I know I'm a witness. I've been flutterized.
like you said, we're not gonna, and when you talk about Black people, the way we can cut stuff up, even in what I do, you know, we have to bring our own without a shame and being unapologetic. We have our own culture and our own language within the culture. Within the culture, you know, you talk about being from P-Town. There's a whole dialect. There's a whole language. There's a whole mentality that we have that as Black people that allows us to serve one another better than other races can. Even when it comes to what I do as a life coach and can't say counseling because I'm not a licensed counselor, but when I do a whole lot, but when it comes, we have the ability to bring a trifecta. I bring the spirituality to it, the motherhood to it, as well as the certification expertise. And you do that. And I said all that to say, I change people's lives in a way that's intangible. You can't touch it, but you can feel it. And it changes people's lives 2 to 3 generations removed. You change people's lives. You have done makeovers that have left me with my jaw dropped. I mean, and when it comes to especially the man weaves, I have seen people, their whole countenance, you can see their spirit thrive in a picture. And it is amazing. So, I mean, how you talk, girl.
Well, with the man weaves, you know, that has been very popular for years and years and years. But, you know, for whatever reason in our community, we don't share things, you know. So we knew Steve Harvey had a piece, but we didn't know how in the world he was sticking that thing on.
Yeah, how was he edged up so perfectly every time and it didn't make his hairline dark?
At the end of the day, it's art. So fast forwarding from Steve Harvey, it became so popular, you know, and a lot of barbers were, you know, keeping it hush hush. And, you know, I have another stylist here in the salon. We were just sort of like trying to figure out what's going on. How can we find out what to do? Because she deals with alopecia and has dealt with it for years. And she was like, if the guys are doing it, then shoot, we can do it on the girls, you know? So we dove into like searching for months, trying to figure out where we could go. And if it wasn't $10,000 for this class or $5,000 for this class, it's like, you know what? Forget it. We're going to figure this out on our own. So, I mean, we were to the point we would watch a video, pause the video, zoom into the back counter to see what products were being used, go by that, not knowing what we needed. And like, okay, well, we can use this, however. But we found a young lady doing a class in Toronto,
Canada.
And it was like, it wasn't cheap, but it was lower than anything we heard. And she and I both said, you know what, let's go. We packed up with some friends and her daughter, whatever. Well, with a friend and her daughter. We're like, let's just go. Let's just invest in ourselves. So we drove 12 hours to get that knowledge because so many women, not even older women 30s and 40s that have had traction alopecia due to braids. You know, braids being too tight and ripping, as we say, ripping your edges out, you know, different types of things, just male pattern baldness. That's another form of alopecia. Weaves and wigs and glues and so many things that, look, relaxer burns and third-degree burns that weren't treated properly. So many things that ignorantly we didn't know we were doing, causing so much harm to our hair. So we're like, okay, now there's an opportunity to take a class and bring some hope to these young ladies that think they have to wear these wigs. And, you know, let's go ahead and do it. So we went out to take the class, came back, and we were on fire. Been on fire ever since. And a lot of people talk about, you know, you don't post it, you don't post. That is so personal. You're talking about women that have never told their husbands they have these issues. I have clients that their husbands have never seen them without wigs and weaves. You know, so now you're talking about post it on Facebook, post it on social. You can't post those types of things. That's not for you.
I'm so glad you brought that up because social media, excuse me, those of you who can see me, I had to wipe my nose, but social media, that's a whole other animal. And Jovonne is going to come back. We're going to have a whole show talking about social media, the Black experience on social media. And I too fall into that rank. You know, when people say, why don't you do this and that on social media? My clients come to me because I pride myself in a high level of discretion.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I deal with is not things that leaders, and whether it be in the community, whether it be CEOs of companies, whether it be small
Mm-hmm.
business owners, whether it be clergy, people don't want you to know their business, and you don't have to know their
Exactly.
business. So a lot of times small businesses like mine and Jovonne's, we may not get the fluff, or may not get the, and sometimes Jovonne, we've been real weak with our websites, because I know I am, because a lot of times it's word of mouth, because
Yeah.
of and I've had to sign non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, a lot of times, especially
Mm-hmm.
with conflict resolution, and then dealing with the personal side, because there are a lot of business coaches, but when it comes to life coaches, if you don't bring an element of mediation, an element of spirituality, and even to some degree prophetic, you're going to lose the process of solution. So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
my clients, they need that. They need that. So when sometimes on social media we're seeking the likes, I always say, Jovonne, and I know you can attest, that the people who we don't get likes from follow the people that we cater to. You know, so but talk about the shame, the embarrassment, that people don't have to share. And we talked about earlier, before we started recording, when people say, Jovonne, you leaving money on the table because you don't put those before and afters. Tracy, you leaving money on the table because you don't say who the client is, or you don't frequent this, or you don't do that. And my response is, that's not my table. Jovonne, what's your response?
Well, people say all the time, well, you don't post, why don't you post this on Facebook? Or you don't put your man weaves. You need to post more. You need to do this. You need to do that. You're leaving so much money on the table. And I said, well, did you see how much money I racked off before? Did you see, but it's not meant for them to see, so I'm not social media driven. I know that's the thing of our times, but in this, well, for how I do um, makeovers and consulting and beauty and changing lives, that's not for social media. That's for
Exactly.
that person's life to change. And if
Exactly.
they choose to post it, that's on them. But my
Exactly.
job is to do it. My job is to let you know, hey, I'm here. If you
Hmm.
need me, if you have any
Hmm.
questions, come see me. But
And this
it's
this is one way of letting people know. So those of you who are listening,
not.
Flutterizm Beauty Experience out of Portsmouth, Virginia, owner, founder, Jovonne Cookie Jones. You hear how multi-talented she is. I call her a serial hustler, because she's going to find a way to get it done. And when you're people driven and service driven, God will always provide the money. I can
Yes.
say this, Jovonne, about whether it be makeup or even in the world of coaching. When I first started coaching in 2004, the internet wasn't what it is now. Social
Mhm.
media wasn't even a thing. I think we just had started with Blackberries, right? Good. And I think I had a bag phone that I had wired into my V8 Thunderbird back then. But I never caught on to the trendiness. And I do sometimes, we both have Facebook pages and we're both on Instagram and things like that. But the trendiness of, I need to touch the person, I need to have a life exchange. And I know now with the pandemic, touching is a luxury now that we don't really have. But even with the one-on-one experience, when you change one life to the degree it touches the core of their spirit and their being, whether it me helping them spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and with their mental issues, or Jovonne doing it from an outer experience with their, from
Mhm.
head to toe, from birth to death, literally.
Right. Right.
It's something that person gets to own that experience for themselves, and then everybody they touch, every personal and professional relationship they have, they get to benefit from that.
Mhm.
But so we don't seek the glory in being the coach or the cosmetologist, the stylist,
Yeah.
the makeup artist, the person who is degreed in funeral services, or me in behavioral health and behavioral science. Isn't something wrong? We're both scientists, in a Black way. But
Right.
that person gets to own that experience. And when they wake up and look in a physical mirror and see what Jovonne has helped them transform physically, and then when they can look in a spiritual mirror or a mental health mirror and see what I have helped them transform internally and eternally, they change every relationship in their life gets to benefit from that. So we can, Jovonne, go ahead. I got excited. Can you tell?
Oh, you good. You're good. You're hitting it on the head, And I can't receive glory from that, or I can't post and look what I did. Look what I did. That takes away from the total purpose, So I refuse to post before and afters unless the client says, please put me on your Facebook. One of my clients said, I want to be the face of Flutterizm because you've changed my life inside
Wow.
and that thing like that, I'm like, okay, let me figure out a way to post this, but I'm a very private person, period. So I don't want every little single detail of my life posted, but I do like to stay relevant. I would like to let people know I'm still here, and so forth and so on. So with all that said, I take pride in knowing that I'm not out here for Facebook likes, or for Instagram likes and so forth like that. But my clients love it even more because they trust me,
Hey, Cam.
Oh, he's in
the mirror. I love it. And Jovonne, trust is such a treasure these days. Because if somebody has to come to you who has their husband, a spouse, a wife or husband has never seen them with their balding issues, or has never seen them without makeup, or, the level of vulnerability it takes for that person to even come to you and sit in your chair. And in my case, the level of vulnerability, because up until, and now it's reverting back, but my clients were mostly men for years, for several reasons. I think because women thought they needed permission to get help, but men, when they need something, they just go ahead and get it. But the vulnerability it takes for a man, a leader, and a Black leader to come to a woman to get help, the last thing I'm gonna do is dime that brother out.
Right.
It's not gonna happen on my watch.
Right.
And then for a woman of leadership, because I know you do pastors' wives, you do business owners. And I think just now in this conversation, even though we've talked about so much, I think now we're seeing the external on your part that has an internal effect, and the internal on my part coming from the same family. It's just a synergy. And it is a legacy and an anointing, because even entrepreneurial, my grandfather was an entrepreneur before we even knew what that word meant. Jovonne's father, a mechanic, my dad, a cleaning business, a church. I mean, that we've had this entrepreneurial spirit, which goes back to learning from your elders. They never sat us down and say, do this.
They didn't.
We did it by watching and then allowing their lives to be exposed to us. And Jovonne, when you talk about what does it do? What do you see in your industry as far, because I know I don't see a lot of people like me. There are a whole lot of coaches make way more money than I do, have a longer client list. Now I have a waiting list because I choose to keep my client list minimal because of what I know I bring. If you're a VIP client, you get all of me during the time you're with me. So I don't choose to lay myself out. But when you're having those experiences with people, what do you see in your industry? Do you see a lot of people like you? Because it gets lonely for me, because I don't see people bringing in ecclesiastical mental health counseling.
There are a lot of entrepreneurs, cosmetologists that are really getting it. Just think about most salons you go to, you have the salon, then you have purses being sold and jewelry being sold and oils, and every salon owner and cosmetologist that I know personally, they got a little something going on the side. I don't know anyone like myself, because it doesn't have to be cosmetology for me, and just look in the pandemic alone, with the pandemic, we were shut down. So we had no cosmetics and things, my products still sell, but we were told to shut down. So I didn't have anybody to touch on any longer, except for those that were passing away. So I did have that stream of income from that, but I took a huge hit. And I'm like, well, what do I do now? It wasn't cosmetology that was still driving me. It was, I need to make some money so I won't have to, take a loss, a huge loss. So my thing was, Lord, lead me where I need to be. I was waking up still like I had to come to the salon, or Lord, lead me to where I need to be. And I remember driving locally, just trying to get some things done. And I remember seeing a sign. I have pictures of it, a sign that says free chairs. I looped my car around to go see free chairs. And what the heck is this? So I called the number to see what it was. It was a man giving away old school desks. They were like, civil rights, Martin Luther King days, beat up, jacked up desk. And he was
no,
like,
you didn't say civil rights. Wait, civil rights, Martin.
In your mind. So, and I'm like, what am I, in my mind, like, free? I'm down for anything free. So he was like, you can get them right now. Got a U-Haul truck, loaded 40, 50 desks on the truck. And my son is like, Mom, what are you doing? I said, we're going to load these things in the backyard. We're going to sand these jokers down, paint them. We got to make some money. My neighbors were like, are you starting a daycare or something over there? And I'm just ignoring them, just still buffing and sanding. But at the end of the day, who knew we would have virtual learning and the kids would need school desks? That was May, like early May. So I'm on Marketplace, on Facebook. I'm selling the desk $50 a piece, helping everybody, because the desk online was $150, $250, But I told my son, you buff whatever desk you buff out, you get $5. That joke was back there getting it, So it's like, it was a nonstop thing. And then we couldn't find cleaning supplies. So I had to take my son to Baltimore. On the way back, we see a warehouse, cleaning supplies. Well, we didn't have them here. So it's like, you have to make a decision. What you going to do? You going to make some money, or you going to miss an opportunity? So a friend of mine and I, we just decided to go in and just get some things and just go hard. We're going to bring all this stuff back. Flutterizm Salon turned into Lowe's, girl. We were live sauce, everything, and your mindset changes. But when you wake up driven, like I said from the beginning, like, I'm not going to take a deficit. I know unemployment is here, but that's not enough. I'm used to this level of income, and I'm going to maintain this level of income. So you
preaching, keep preaching.
And when you go out there and get it, no matter if you see it or not, when you go get it, that door is going to open up and you're going to fall right in. You just got to be ready to have your arms open to get everything you need.
Girl, you preaching. I got my hands up. Those of you who can't see me, I'm going to pass the offer plate in a minute.
So it's like the pandemic has been huge on most of us. But I'm going to tell you, I keep hearing, I got to say this. Everybody's saying F 2020. 2020 is the worst. This, that, and the third. I'm going to tell you, I've lost family this year. I've lost friends. I've lost clients. It's been horrible. But every year I lose family, friends, and clients. But baby, this has been my best year. Best year.
Jovonne, let me tell you.
Walking into opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. I'm like, dang, I'm ready for 2021 for real, because this has been so overwhelming for me. I'm like, makeup. I thought I was just a makeup artist, girl. I'm telling you, I'm about to be a certified disinfectant tech. I don't know what's gonna happen next, but I'm saying, mask, you name it. So it's like I said the other day, I posted, it's a Bruce Lee quote, but it is what it is. Forget circumstances. I create opportunities. And if you cannot get up every day creating an opportunity, you done got it wrong. You missed it. And my mother-in-law used to say all the time before she passed, Jovonne, scared money don't make money. So if you scared to put it on the table and flip that thing, honey,
yes.
you can make it.
Or if you are scared to fail. I have been, Jovonne,
that's the best lesson ever.
What you just said is just it's blowing me away, because I'm about to get up and get my groove or my shout on, because it is amazing. Because one of the things, and I can't assume everybody's in this place, but I know that this place has a whole lot to do with knowing your purpose, mission, and your passion, because that is just my language. That's just like breathing, just like music. I'm going to always talk about purpose, mission, and passion, and having the compassion to execute all three.
That's it.
But something you're good at, music. You're good at, and I'm being facetious with this question. You're good at, first of all, you're beautiful. That's not first, but that's included. You're beautiful. You're funny. You have a great personality. You're a giver. You are a servant. You're good at music, and talented, gifted, and anointed. You're good at makeup artistry, talented, gifted, and anointed. You're good at cosmetology and doing hair. You're a serialpreneur, like I've said several times before. You are an educated woman. And all those things goes back to something you said. When I get up in the morning, I listen. I know people will say that, you're good at this, you're good at that, or even, but I don't think it's so much as being good at certain things. I think it's the willingness to listen and execute. Because you bring that skill set to everything you do. Jovonne is a makeup artist and a cosmetologist by education, by trade, but she's listening. She pulling hustle man on them desks, and it does not diminish. It does not diminish who she is. I have, done so many things that are not business related to keep the money moving. Or should I say, are not the core of my business. It could be somebody calling and say they need me to talk to their child or whatever. Now, it's going to be a price involved, but that's not they will pay me based on them knowing what I do. But I don't go in with that mentality. But I think it's the ability to listen, to hear from God what he wants you to do, and even being able to face the failures when it doesn't work out right. In 2016-17, I started Solutions for Life Institute, expanded from TracyMac coaching to Solutions for Life Institute, because I saw so many potentially failing coaching practices that could not stand alone when it comes to getting contracts and help and support. So I was starting this firm to bring other coaches on under me, so that when we go to bid on contracts, they can not only use my name and my brand, but also pull together our resources to get the contracts. Well, 7, 8 months into it, it failed. I had to face that failure. The concept of it failed, not the intention, because I was still able to shift. But something that the pandemic, and I brought this up because prophetically, and I'm not a prophet, like, in church people prophesy, but I do see things prophetically. Back in 2016, you remember Miss Harris, my mentor, and you were part of our Women on the Move group.
Yes.
I had an event called State of the Black Community in 2016, because it started, the drive started in 2015. Because I was just hearing Black people, we got to come together, something. And Miss Harris is definitely her core, and who she was. Her message was all about supporting and helping and educating and causing progress in the Black community. So back then, the HB2s were under the gun for defunding, so to speak, and the bathroom bill. And I just felt like Black people were so far removed from what these things really meant, and some other things in the Black community, mental health, spirituality in and outside of the church or whatever. And I got to make this short, but I'm so excited about it that I started something called Think 2020 Solutions. And you can go hashtag it right now, and you'll see my name attached to it going all the way back to 2016. And what I was trying to do was get at least 20, I was ready to accept more, 20 people that could see 2020. And not just see 2020, but look beyond it, because I felt like something was going to happen. Something was, so me just listening, and I didn't get hardly any takers. The event failed. You can even look on Eventbrite. I had an event called Think 2020 Solutions. I only had 3 people to show up. Wow. But those 3 people, including me, are not shaken due to the pandemic when it comes to our businesses. Because of things we did then to prep us mentally, our physical health, financial health. It supported our preferred. Now, we've had some issues because, Jovonne, we both have had to pivot.
That's right.
But being able to pivot comes from being ready to pivot.
Yeah, correct.
Because we learned from Lisa Nichols back in 2014 that Speaking Right to Make Millions that we went to back in San Diego.
Yes.
Stay ready so you ain't got to get ready. And these things you and I have tried to transmit and serve the Black community with, especially, but we don't want to listen.
They don't. We
see that person up there with all that notoriety and fame, and you don't realize that person is coming to Jovonne and I, but we don't put it on Facebook.
That's right. That's right.
So I just had a long rant. Your turn.
No, it. I'm telling you, that's good. That's good stuff, you know. And you know, in that, I can't say that I'm sitting here doing everything right and I
Exactly.
properly planned for the pandemic. No, but in this transition, you know, this has been major, especially for uh, cosmetologists, barbers, and people that, you know, touch people all day long. This
Yes.
has been so major for us. It's been a huge shift. But in learning, you know, we don't know what to do. We don't know what next month is going to consist of. It could happen all over again, you know.
Right,
But
right.
I still wake up with the same attitude. My whole goal this year was I'm not losing my shop, you know. I'm not going to lose what I worked so hard for. And by any means necessary, as long as it's legal, I'm going to do it. You know,
Exactly.
so I've made baskets and gifts, and I've heard people come out of their mouth and say the most negative things. Look at all this S, or look at all this stuff. It's a bunch of crap. And I've heard all these things. How many things you gonna sell? How many things? You got a million things. Can't believe you ain't got Christmas trees in here. I done heard all of this. And I'm like, oh shoot, they noticing, they watching. You know, it's not junky. It's neat. It's all, you can visually see everything. It's wrapped perfectly, you know, but
Yes.
they can talk all they want to. Somebody said, you got a million things in here. I said, yeah, and $1 million coming behind it. And I
Hey,
walked right,
baby. Hey.
you know what I'm saying? So it's like people gonna
Yes.
try to sow negative seeds because they ain't doing it. Or because they
Exactly.
don't have what it takes to do it. But ain't nobody say, my God, these lights shining bright in here. I can't believe they own during this pandemic. Yeah, the bills are still paid.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
so it's like certain things come at you and they cut, but they go right over my head because I said that ain't gonna hurt me. That ain't gonna
Exactly.
bother me. They cannot touch what is so powerful to me.
Because
You
the cheap shots come from the cheap seats.
know,
Nine
trying to
times out of 10, the most criticism I have received from people have
yes,
been people that ain't doing nothing, don't want to do nothing, and don't want help to do nothing.
yep.
And
That's
and not being critical, because there are some people that have seen and maybe had a change of heart. But you said baskets. We didn't even mention that. You even started a legacy for your niece, you know, Miss Heaven's Creations. That,
right.
talk about that. You got so much, baby.
Basically that came out of really right before the pandemic. You know, my clients always talk about, you know, when I leave the shop, I'm gonna run by so and so Walmart, see if I can find some of this, some of that. And I'm like, well, shoot, what they looking for, I can make up and have here readily available for them. Little gift baskets, makeup sets, makeup brushes, just you name it, you know, even down to, you know, men's items and things like that. So I started with 1 or 2 pieces here or there. I would go out and just find little whatnots. And I love making baskets my entire life, all the way back to childhood, you know, making things with my mom, macrame things and
Yes.
people, you know, all those type things. So I love using my hands, and I just decided to incorporate a small little gift shop in my salon. And that small little gift shop just sort of rolled over to another room. And I mean, I don't have, I don't keep them in here. They go. Then I have clients with special requests and things. And I just thank God for this. I was crying the other day in the shower. You know, I don't cry, I ain't no punk.
I know
But you
what
know,
I know.
I was in the shower trying to fake myself out like I won't cry. I was always the water from the shower. But I was crying because I was so overwhelmed with joy at how my stuff moves. I said, I don't put nothing out there and say, look, I got this. Hey, look at me. Look what I have. And for the phone to ring like it did, and I sold out of almost everything. I had authentic Coach bag baskets. And somebody else told me, nobody's going to buy that. That's too high. You're not going to sell that. That's $200. You're not going to. I was like, okay. Not one remaining. And these are things I ordered myself with my own money. That scared money made some money. Well,
Yes.
it wasn't scared money, but it wasn't scared, and I made money. I said, forget it. I'm gonna get what people want, you know?
Exactly.
And all of that to say, if you listen to what other people say you're not gonna do, you're not gonna get nowhere with it. So in this basket making, my niece is on FaceTime most of the time. Aunt Jovonne, what you got? What you got? Or she'll come up here with her brothers and help me piece together things. And I paid them on an hour. I said, however many hours you work, you're going to get paid. I said, this is your first job. My nephew said, well, actually, singing was my first job. I got paid over here for such and such. Well, this is your second job, you know, okay? So it's like teaching them entrepreneurship. Even my sons hustle their hand pots off of me. They may not be visible, but I remember even last Christmas, my baby boy was in the street with a sign. Come get my mom's baskets. I mean, dancing around. And I'm like, we sold out of everything. So it's like, I admire that. I have a great team, great supporters. And it's not something I'm not trying to have, Hallmark part two, it's just what's doing it for me and giving me joy and peace where I can not only do hair, not only do makeup, but offer a whole nother touch of love to other people's households, whether it be male or female. That's just what I do. So
and that's amazing. And it's a gift. You are a gift to the world in more ways than one, because it's not just, it's the tangible that people see, but it's the intangible that they feel. Anytime somebody lets you know they need something, that's vulnerability. And vulnerability is really a strength. And I think God holds us accountable for destroying someone's trust and toying with someone's vulnerability. And so you're contagious when it comes to, and I know you have other stylists that work in your shop, and even their lives have been changed to see the hope, because what you said very early on in the conversation, what you saw us and me do in North Carolina, you have taken back to Portsmouth, setting a goal. And it may not necessarily, 2019 was the first time in 29 years I had not done a vision board.
Wow.
See, I hadn't done a vision board party. Once I started coaching, and I would tell my clients that you got to see. So I started incorporating that into my VIP client sessions. And then I started doing for fundraisers for a lot of the organizations I'm connected to, whether it be on the board or whatever. I would do vision board parties at the end of the year, sometime in December. And so 2019, I wasn't well, number one. And then number two, I couldn't see. I could not see 2020. And I was like, Lord, what do you have? And I keep my vision boards very personal. I know people will do vision boards and put it up. My vision boards, nobody sees but me and my husband. That's because it hangs in my bathroom, because it's that personal. And but on my vision board from the one I made in 2018 for 2019, and I was looking at it, and there was a podcast mic on it, because I toyed with the idea. And then there were some other things on there, but everything was done, because I usually put a little light X on the corner of the picture. Everything was done except the podcast mic. And so I was like, well, I don't really have time. Well, here comes 2020, because what something is, I asked for clear vision back in 2016 for 2020, and I believe I was getting it. And here comes 2020, and I couldn't see. And so when I'm getting a little bit of feedback, I think that's from me or you. Okay. But when I asked for clear vision in 2020, how did we know that God was going to use a pandemic, the lenses of a pandemic, to see? And I know, and anyone who has lost a job, who's lost loved ones who may be listening, who may have COVID-19 themselves, please don't take this as an arrogant conversation. This is a conversation to give you hope of what can be. I have had so many physical conditions. Go back and listen to the other shows where I talk candidly about the issues I've had with autoimmune issues and blood disorders. Jovonne comes from a family, but her mom, mental illness, and back, like she said, back then the diagnosis, severe schizophrenia, and institutionalized several different times, and moved from place to place, and misdiagnosed and over medicated. And so, and coming from dysfunction, just the collective dysfunction in the Black race, just the collective dysfunction in inner city type lifestyle. Portsmouth is not New York, but you've got a whole nother climate there, coming from a religious background where religion was more of a harness than a liberty. And so to be able to come as just Black women and be business owners and come through trials, tribulations, none of us had a start with any financing. My parents I never gotten any money from my parents. Jovonne has never gotten any money from her parents to support the work. I started out broke and had to build from the ground up. And Lord, behold, neither one of us want that for our children. So we're building companies and businesses. So if you don't have this story, the success side, You can identify with the pain side, but don't let the pain side stop you
That's
from
right.
desiring the successful side to however you define success, because we all define it different. One of my definitions of success is to be able to do anything for anybody at any time of my choosing without the fear of lack for myself.
That's right.
And the
That's
other
it.
one is not how much I can grind, because I can, and not how much I can hustle, but my definition of success is how much I can chill and ain't worried about nothing.
That's right.
So
That's what I was
if
gonna say
you're
too. Like,
listening, be encouraged. If you're experiencing unemployment, I have. If you're
mm-hmm,
experiencing don't know where
definitely.
the next bill is coming from, I have. If you've ever had the
That's
potential
right.
eviction, I have. If you ever had
That's
bankruptcy hanging over your head, I have. Have you ever had, Jovonne, what's some of your I haves that they can not
oh,
feel like
shoot.
we're up here blowing smoke? What's some of the crap you have had to deal
I
with?
mean, everything, I can say everything. I've dealt with almost everything in my adult life, not just as a child with a struggling single parent. I've dealt with everything like food stamps, Medicaid. Not that that's the worst, but that's not where I ever wanted to be. I've dealt with, I remember me and my sons, we went through a really bad hardship and we had goldfish crackers and Vienna sausages, stuff I said I would never eat, but that was the only thing that had available with and didn't have assistance and things. And my sons thought we were like, I kind of tricked them up a little bit, but they thought we were good. I'm like, y'all want some goldfish crackers and these little hot dogs? They didn't know that's all we had, and I guess you can say pride was in the way. I wouldn't let anybody know, hey, I'm struggling like this, you know. But I've gone through everything. So I was going to say, I'm not in no way insensitive to other people's issues. I just want to let you know, it don't have to be there. You don't have to stop there. Long as you have a little teeny piece of drive, if you can think, I'm going to get out of this. If you can think that, the next thing you need to think is just, okay, how?
And
So
listen,
that's
have that relationship with God and have that hope and that sense of purpose that whatever you hear, act on it. Sometimes it's going to be wrong. Sometimes it's not going to turn out right. Sometimes it's going to fail. You're going to fail, but act on it.
Most times, I can say every single time that it was an opportunity for me to move, it was uncomfortable, extremely uncomfortable, and it didn't look right to anybody else. It looked horrible. Like, why are you going to go down there and do this? Why are you going to pack up and do this? Why would you put so much money into such and such? It always looks ugly, but your gut, that deep-rooted feeling, do it, do it, do it, do it. When you feeling that, do it.
Yes, and sometimes even now, because people say God speaks in a still small voice. I say the more of a relationship you have with God, the louder the voice gets. If it's still and small, then there's other things cluttering the volume of that or the clarity of that. But the more you hear God, the more you begin to trust the voice of God. Whatever faith or religion you believe in, and I don't like to use the term higher power because people start saying you new age. Well, forget that. Whatever you believe in, that when you hear that and you act on it, the more you act on it, the clearer it gets, the louder it gets, the faster you respond. It's even sometimes now, Jovonne, it could be something simple. And I will hear, no, don't go over there right now. Or Tracy, go do something. And I said, I'll do it in a minute. And it'll keep tugging. I said, okay, wait a minute. And ain't nobody in the room but me. It's just me. And I'm okay. But that not being insensitive. And I think our hardships, Jovonne, and correct me or embellish, our hardships are why we still do things at no cost. It's a portions of my business I will always keep for free to be what I never had. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have a coach. My parents couldn't give me any money. I didn't have friends that were as positive as I felt they could have been, but what it was, they didn't understand my vision. So I didn't have that relationship support. I was out here on a wing and a prayer. And even my husband was looking at me sideways sometimes, even though he was always supportive. It was like, but he was trying to be supportive to the degree of his capacity. But having nothing, literally having nothing but a will and a purpose and a drive and say, God, use me. Help me help other people. That was my prayer. Help me help other people, especially with the things that I needed help with and didn't have.
I agree. I don't know what percentage. I couldn't even begin to fake a calculation, but there are several times, and I'm not saying it to put it out there to boast about, but so many people are used to going to salons and having services, and you go in and get this done. You start at $50. By the time you end up getting everything you need done, is $125, $145, $175. And my clients to come here, they always say, well, you did this or you did that, but you didn't charge for that. I said, well, because it's my shop. I can do what I want to do in my shop. I told you on the phone that such and such starts at this price. So we're starting here, and I want to leave it here. I want to create that experience for you, and I don't want you leaving out here thinking that you got to pay your power bill. And I want you to come back. I don't want you to come back just because it's Mother's Day. I want you to come back bi-weekly, bi-monthly, or whatever it might be, 6 times out the year, 12 times, however. I want you back. So I may have the lowest prices in America, but it's because I want you. And as I reel you in, baby, you're going to spend some money, but you're going to feel good about some money.
Exactly.
You don't know why you're spending money. So it's not always about, let me charge this for that, or let me charge that. It's people that have come here that haven't paid a dime, but that's on me.
And that still comes from that listening. And that's not people say, well, you charge this for this, charge for one, that, like you said, that's my shop. This is my coaching practice. I want to be fair across the board. But sometimes there have been times where I've gotten finished with a session, tell them, don't pay me. I want it, because sometimes it may be what I was able to give, or I can say, look, can you scholarship that to so-and-so because they can't afford thus and such? Mm-hmm. Or in the process of a session, especially now, those business owners I coach that have had to lay employees off, that have found themselves applying for unemployment, I didn't drop them because they couldn't pay.
Right.
Because I would have needed that. I needed that. Right. And so I may not ever get the financial payment from them, but don't you know the way that God operates? My life is set up to, I'm going to reap that 100-fold somewhere else when I least expect it. But Jovonne, what you're doing is building relationships, because it's all about relationships. You're building relationships with those clients that they not only come back other than Mother's Day, they tell other people, and so. And that's an extension of worship. That's an extension of, this is ministry beyond the pulpit. This is serving God.
It is so important that you do give. I tell my stylists and I tell my kids, their friends, I say it's so important that you do give, not to do it to show. You do it just because you have to. And the return on it is ridiculous. I've never put up a sign in my window that says stylist needed here. I never put up a sign saying we do fresh Jerry curls come through. I've never done that. And I know a lot of people that do it, that's fine, but that hasn't been for me. This place is not for everybody. My services are not for everybody. And I trust and believe God sends exactly who needs to be here, and I can't do nothing but be grateful and do exactly what I'm told. If it's a limited cost with this or limited cost with that, or you walk out with a basket or whatever it might be, I can do that because I'm supposed to give. We're supposed to do it. And that return, not only do you get that person, you get their family, you get their co-workers, and it's like you just go from there. You lack nothing. Mm-hmm. So in all of that, that's the reason of Flutterizm.
Exactly. And I haven't even said, maybe we'll do it on the promo spot. But what does Flutterizm mean?
Nervous excitement, fearless confidence. The definition, it was a list of definitions for flutter, and one that stood out was nervous excitement. And ism is the act of being that. So when you come to Flutterizm, I want you to feel nervous and excited, but I want you to leave feeling fearless and confident. Just that simple.
And you do it. You do it. So even without people knowing what the word means, the spirit of it manifests every time somebody sits in your chair, lays in a coffin, and I'm not trying to make light of that, especially now during the pandemic, but you do. And I am so glad. These are things Jovonne and I have talked about over the years, with our relationship, but bringing that to the airways of Black Women's World podcast is why I wanted to do this. I started by doing it, and I mentioned it earlier in an episode called First of All, where I was seeing videos. The Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion's video WAP came out, and then I think Beyonce's The Lion King, The King, came out, and I saw both of those. And without judgment on either, what I did not see was a representation of Black women I know. That those two projections, very extreme, were being broadcast to the world, and there were so many of us that fall within that. That I was like, what about our stories? That the world needs to know our stories. Also, with the George Floyd situation, a murder, I'm gonna call it what it is, happening in the Black community. It heightened, even though I've always catered to Black people, mainly those that will allow me. That brought a heightened sense of Black, and I was like, Black women, and not only having a podcast that reaches the world, but people don't know our worlds. They only seeing what's in Hollywood and what's on television. And even that playing field is being leveled because of the pandemic. But I was like, how can I bring stories of these women, some of which I serve because they've been my clients, some of which I'm related to, some great friends, and some women yet to come who I don't even know. How can I amplify our stories to the world and to one another for encouragement and inspiration? And if nothing else, sister nieces and sister niece lovers, I pray that some kind of way, Jovonne's story, the parts that you've heard, my story will encourage and inspire you no matter what state you're in. If you've lost a business, if you've lost a job, if you've lost a loved one, there is hope. And hope is in being able to number one, love yourself enough to reach for it. Love yourself enough. And self-care is not just shoes and makeup and getting a spa day. Self-care is how you treat your mind and how you treat your relationship. So Jovonne, I want you to give some parting words. And like I said, you're going to be one of my resident co-hosts, so we'll get to hear your opinion on a lot of different topics. But just say some parting words. And I think I don't know if there's a way I can make this 2 episodes. So I think we may contain it in one. I don't know what we're going to do. But say some words to the sister niestas and sister niesta lovers listening to the BWWP.
You know, I really don't know what else to say, but just stay up, you know, stay up, stay encouraged. If you haven't found your passion, go find it, look for it, dive into it. If you're unhappy where you are in life, that thing that is just itching at you, whether it's, I don't know, making socks or whatever it might be, something is going to cause you, whether you're making money for it or not, just step out and do it. You know, I don't know anything other than to say, just stay encouraged, you know, be encouraged, hold your head up high, keep smiling, even when it hurts. It's okay to cry, but keep smiling, keep your head up and keep it moving. Don't cry over spilled milk. Just go head on to the next thing. You fall, get right back up, learn from it, and keep moving. The end.
Well, thank you so much, Jovonne, for being with us. And I like the fact that you said, I think there's a quote that says, a man falls 7 times but gets up 8. And I thank you for getting up 8. You have gotten up 8. And I appreciate you for your candor, your transparency, you even being here and accepting the invitation to be on the Black Women's World podcast. And I look forward to some great things that you have coming up that we'll talk about as they reveal themselves. But I think that's great. And I want to appreciate you for who you are and what you do, and for flutterizing the world in more ways than one, because you have. And my sister Niesta, I love you. I like you. I'm glad we're related on several different terms, not just blood, but business-wise, mentally, professionally, drive, prophetically. I thank you, and I love you so much.
And I love you too, Tracy. Thank you for having me here. I'm honored.
You're welcome. And for my sister Niestas and sister Niesta lovers, I'm TracyMac, your host of Black Women's World podcast, the BWWP. Love somebody.
Yes.
You've been listening to Black Women's World podcast, the BWWP, brought to you in part by TracyMac Solutions for Life Institute, coaching and training services. No doubt you have enjoyed being in our world, and it doesn't have to stop here. Head on over to blackwomensworld.com. This is my personal invitation to you to stay connected with me on social media and more. I'd love to see you there, and I'm so grateful you came to be with me here. Invite someone else to join you in our queendom next time so they can feel the vibe of our tribe of Sister Nistas and Sister Nista lovers too. Remember to be kind, be authentic, be generous, be excellent, be grateful, and while you're at it, go ahead and be extraordinary, because that's just what Sister Nistas do, on purpose, through mission, with passion and compassion. It's a Black woman's world, baby, and you, my Sister Nista, are proof. I'm your self-discovery companion, your professional peacemaker, and your host, TracyMac. Wherever you are in the world, may you love and be loved by somebody. Peace.